What's up, guys? Welcome into the first episode of the Dave Talks Sports podcast. I am your host, Dave Ettinger, and I am of CBS Sports Radio Network. How you guys doing this morning? So, it's a little bit new for me, so just bear with me for a second, but welcome in. As you can see, I'm in the car, and I'm going to welcome you guys in and have you join me on my commute home. I work at CBS Sports Radio Network overnight. I get off around now, 6:30 in the morning, and this is my commute home. So welcome into the newest edition of Dave Talks Sports. For those of you who know me, again, I'm Dave Ettinger, your host. I've done a talk show, strictly sports talk, on the radio before, so you guys may know the name Dave Talks Sports. So a couple rules to the podcast. Yeah, there are rules. First rule is there are no rules. No, I'm kidding. There are rules. I don't do edits. I don't do second takes. It's all just natural. You're gonna hear me talking. Again, this is me in a commute. You see, on my commute, you see the seatbelt. I'm being safe. Don't worry. I'm all mic'd up, and I got the steering wheel you can see going on in the corner here. It's a little rainy morning this morning, so, deal with that as well. But, of course, I'm being safe. It is Tuesday morning, June 25th, and, like I said, there are some rules. Like I mentioned, first take, that's all you're going to get. I'm not going to redo this. I'm not going to do edits. So if there's mistakes, just deal with it. For anyone who knows me, I generally think it, and then I say it. It just kind of comes out. I'm always respectful. I always, try to do and say the right thing. But I'm going to give you my opinion. The way it enters my brain is the way it's going to come out of my mouth. Now, while I am a Knicks fan, Jets fan, Yankee fan, and Islander fan, this is not just going to be a New York podcast, because I know people would really, not necessarily hate that, but that's not all they're here for. I'm going to talk to you about all things sports, anything that's going on in the sports world at any time. All right, so just because I live in New York, I'm from New York, doesn't mean it's going to be all New York sports talk all the time. So like I mentioned, I am Dave Ettinger, your host of the Dave Talk Sports podcast. We'll be coming to you on a daily basis during my commute home from CBS Sports Radio Network. So, as I mentioned, Tuesday morning, June 25th, we have a lot to unravel in the sports world. We're talking Yankees, we're talking Mets, we're talking the NBA. I know it's kind of crazy that we're still talking about the NBA, being that the season is over. It's been over. The Raptors are your champions. But they decided to do the NBA award show last night, June 24th. Let's start with this. It's terrible. Yeah, I'm going to try to look at you directly when I'm at a red light, because that's where I am right now. And you may get a little crosstalk of whatever's going on the commute. Right now I got a guy who's trying to back up at a red light, so that was me backing up. So, the NBA season is over. And the NBA expects you to still be excited about who's going to be the MVP, the Rookie of the Year, the Coach of the Year, the Sixth Man of the Year, and all the other awards that they have. I'm a huge sports fan. I live, breathe, sleep, eat, everything sports all the time. You can ask my family, ask my wife, ask everybody who knows me. That's what I'm passionate about. All right? I love sports. But it's really hard to get worked up for an award show that's happening more than a week after the season has ended. And why isn't the award show being done way earlier? Just right before the playoffs start. Because, as they tell you, this is supposed to be regular season awards. So it's the MVP of the regular season, not MVP of 8,000 weeks after the season ended. No. So I really dislike it. But nonetheless, yes, NBA award show, because it's got to be a show, was last night. Excuse me. All right, so MVP, I know they put 3 people up there. Paul George had a really nice season. He's one of the better defenders in the league. He's actually a really great shooter. I think he's not super underrated, but one of the more underrated players in the NBA. I think guys like Damian Lillard and Paul George don't quite get the respect that they truly deserve. And I think these are top 15 players in the league that not everyone thinks of them probably that way. So a lot of credit to Paul George, but I'm sorry, he's not in this MVP debate. It was a 2-man race between James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? To me, it was clear. And for those who already watched the award show or already know who won, and if not, let me break it to you. Giannis Antetokounmpo is your MVP of the 2018-2019 season. I agree with it completely. I think they got it right. Man averaged over 27 points per game, double-digit rebounds, more than 5 assists. I mean, you could argue he's the best defender in the league. He didn't win, Defensive Player of the Year. That was Rudy Gobert for the second straight season. But Giannis was in the top 3, in the final 3. He was a finalist, and he easily could have won that award as well. James Harden. Let's move on to James Harden, right? Because remember, this is a regular season award. Yeah, all right, whatever. Yeah, yeah, okay. That's why we're having it on June 24th. So they want you to factor into the playoffs and all the other things that go on. But James Harden put up ridiculous offensive numbers. Offensive numbers, mind you. Man plays 0. Take it 0 defense. 0. None at all. So that's a big part of being the most valuable player on a team. James Harden did ridiculous things on the offensive end of the court. He can shoot from almost anywhere. The step back move, well, it is a travel. The league is not calling it that way though. So it is what it is. It's a move. They're allowing it. It's the same as the Giannis Euro step. They're all travels by the letter of the law. But if the refs aren't calling it, everyone's getting away with it. Okay, fine. So he's really innovating that step back move. Now, like I mentioned, I'm a Knicks fan. All right, so the NBA draft just passed as well. I'm really happy that RJ Barrett is going to be donning a Knicks uniform coming up this season. And I've already seen him. You've probably seen the video on Twitter and Instagram and all around. He's working on that James Harden step-back move. While I don't like James Harden as a player, I'm not angry at my man RJ Barrett working on that step-back. So really excited to what RJ Barrett brings to a Knicks uniform at the Garden. But I digress. Back to the MVP conversation. James Harden, he's set records this past year. All right, he led the league in scoring, more than 35 points per game, just ridiculous numbers. He had a streak of 30-plus points in a game, second only to Wilt Chamberlain in NBA history. I mean, the man just put up insane numbers. But again, he plays one end of the floor. And I cannot vote for a man or a guy or a player or anybody who disappears in the biggest moments. It's just guys like Kawhi Leonard, that ball's going in the hoop. Some guys have that clutch gene, and I'm sorry, that is a real thing. James Harden and his teammate, who's allegedly unhappy with being in Houston, Chris Paul, does not have that clutch gene either. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. Some guys have it, some guys don't. So James Harden, you had a great season. All right, you already have an MVP, so you didn't need back-to-back anyway. Giannis is your MVP, and they got that one right. We'll run through the other awards really quickly because, again, I think they got them all right. And then we got to get to the Yankees, and we definitely have to get to the Mets. Sixth Man of the Year, Lou Williams winning his third Sixth Man of the Year award. He's building just a trophy case full of Sixth Man of the Years. Guy had a really great season off the bench. He and his teammate Montrezl Harrell had a really nice season, both coming off the bench. Became the first teammates ever in NBA history to both average 15-plus points off the bench. That Clipper team, if they can add a real free agent, because they got some money, some real money in cap space, if they can add Kawhi Leonard, that's going to be a team to reckon with. I'd watch out for them next season if they can get a real free agent. Now, you could say that about a lot of teams. Maybe the Knicks can sign 2 real free agents. It's more wishful thinking than anything, but we'll get to that in another episode of Dave Talk Sports. The other awards, Luka Doncic, he's definitely your Rookie of the Year. He won the award again. They got that one right. Coach of the Year, Mike Budenholzer from the Bucks, joined his buddy Giannis, the Greek freak, in adding trophies to the trophy case. Not a problem. They were not expected to be the best team in the league. That's every year is the annual Warriors Team Award. We'll see what the Warriors look like next year. But for Giannis, Budenholzer, Chris Middleton, and all these guys on the Bucks to come up with 60 wins and have the best record in the NBA, you have to give Mike Budenholzer Coach of the Year. And the last major award that was announced last night, Most Improved Player. Well, and I mentioned Defensive Player of the Year award already, went to Rudy Gobert, second straight season, got to give him props. Most Improved Player, Pascal Siakam on your champion Toronto Raptors. They got this one right again. This is a guy who, yeah, let's say it, he came out of nowhere. Excuse me. Again, I'm not going to edit these, so just deal with it. Pascal Siakam basically came out of nowhere. All right? Don't pretend like you knew who he was before this season. I'm sorry, you didn't. Became the first Cameroon-born player to win a championship. Just had a great season. Definitely most improved from last year. Even put up a 30-plus point game in the NBA Finals. I believe 32 points in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Well deserved. All right, let's switch gears really quickly as we head over the Williamsburg Bridge here. We're on the way home, as I mentioned. Heading out to Long Island where I live. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about my team. Yeah, my team. People say that a lot. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm going to call them my team because I'm a fan of them. People get offended when you say my. No, I'm not on the payroll, but it's my team because I'm a fan of them, right? The Yankees seemingly can do no wrong. They trade for Edwin Encarnacion, and they don't even have to play the guy every day, right? He didn't even play last night, all right? But they're playing the hapless Toronto Blue Jays. They got a lot of nice young names, you know, the Kevin Biggios of the world, the Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s of the world, even a former Yankee, Billy McKinney, guys who are doing, you know, decent things. Yuli Gurriel's brother, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., is all nice young players for the Blue Jays, but there's a reason why they're more than 20 games under 500. So the Yankees handled their business. They beat the Blue Jays. You got to win these games that you're supposed to win. But if you look at the score, 10-8 Yankees. If you were watching and turned it off, like most people might have done when it was 10-2, you're saying, what the hell happened? Well, I'll tell you what the hell happened. Jonathan Holder happened. For those who are Yankee fans or know baseball, Jonathan Holder, well, he's no longer of the Yankees. He's still in their organization, but he got demoted to AAA right after the game. And I actually was screaming at my radio. I was listening to the radio call. Of course, WFAN carries the Yankees. They are the local affiliate where I work at CBS Sports Radio Network, and got to give them props always. I was listening to John Sterling and Susan Wallman on the way into work and listening to the end of the game. Jonathan Holder sucks. He enters the game, right, with a monstrous lead, 10-2. He doesn't record an out, and before you know it, it's 10-7. So what happened? Well, Holder comes in, and on his second pitch that he throws, gives up a home run. Then he proceeds to go single, bases loaded. Keep up here. Then what happens? Remind you, he didn't record an out. Grand slam. Just like that, 5 runs without recording an out. The Blue Jays are seemingly back in the game. Jonathan Holder gets pulled, but during the broadcast, John and Susan are saying, well, Aaron Boone and Rothschild, the pitching coach, they picked up the phone. They called out to the bullpen. The light flashed like they were going to get somebody up, and then nobody got up. So instead of somebody going out to stall, make a mound visit, I know you have limited mound visits nowadays, but you still could have ran out there, stalled for a little while to get somebody ready, warmed up, and get Jonathan Holder out of this game, because Jonathan Holder sucks. He doesn't belong in the major leagues. I know they have to make some roster moves here. I know Cameron Maybin got hurt. He said he was sent to the IL, so that kind of took care of itself. That was a big debate if you were going to carry him on the Yankee roster opposed to, another pitcher, and that kind of solved itself. And I'm really glad they sent Jonathan Holder down. Now, like I mentioned, the Yankees held on. They still won the game, but that game was a lot closer than it had to be. No thanks to Jonathan Holder. But again, Yankees can seemingly do no wrong. They seem to win every game, so I can't complain. I am a Yankee fan who is objective, and I don't hate other teams. I try not to be arrogant as a Yankee fan. I just root for my team. This team needs to add a starting pitcher, not just any starting pitcher. If I hear Matthew Boyd of the Tigers' name one more time as a rumor, a speculation to who they're going to add to the roster before the trade deadline, I'm going to puke on myself. Go get me a real pitcher, a real one, right? A Max Scherzer, a Madison Bumgarner, or Marcus Stroman. Now, personally, I'll take Marcus Stroman. I know you don't see a lot of trades within division usually, but the Blue Jays are going nowhere. There is no reason why they shouldn't trade Marcus Stroman. Also, you think he knows he's going to get traded? The man just went out and pitched 6 scoreless innings the other day. I think he knows the writing's on the wall. He's getting sent out of town any day now. I like Stroman opposed to the other guys that I mentioned in Madison Bumgarner and Max Scherzer because he's good enough that he's acceptable to make that trade to where he makes the starting rotation that much better for the Yankees. It makes them a real playoff contender. They're already playoff contenders, but a real playoff contender. And you don't have to give up the world for him. You don't have to mortgage the future. Max Scherzer, you have to take on a boatload of money, and you have to give up a handful of real prospects, right? So call Toronto, say, here's Clint Frazier, here's a pitching prospect, give me Marcus Stroman, have a nice day, where do I sign? That's it. That's enough on the Yankees. They can't seem to lose. They can do no wrong. Let's move on to the circus. Do you like the circus? Me too. Again, I don't hate the Mets, but it's hard not to make fun of them. They are an abject failure. They are a disaster. They are a circus, a clown show. However you want to describe it, whether you're a Mets fan or not. Mets fans can't even defend what's going on in Queens at Citi Field. You just can't. Mickey Callaway, the former pitching coach for the Indians, is an absolute joke. He's a joke. This man does not belong in a major league uniform as a manager. He just doesn't. Send him somewhere else. Let him be a pitching coach again. That's fine. He was a very good pitching coach for the Indians. But he's not a manager. You saw it last year when he was in over his head, and he's still in over his head. And now, the guy is snapping at reporters, and not like a random reporter. He's snapping at a Mets beat writer. What's wrong with you, Mickey Callaway? What is wrong with you? And now, Jason Vargas. Jason Vargas is a pitcher on the Mets. He's actually been their best pitcher, minus his last start over the last couple months. That sounds really weird. Almost as weird as he looks. Get the man a haircut. But, what are you doing? In this situation, with Mickey Callaway and Tim Healy, who is the beat reporter for the Mets. I don't know why I did that in air quotes. He is the beat reporter for the Mets, one of them. Jason Vargas had to be physically restrained from this guy because he asked a couple good questions, by the way, good questions. You have to ask Mickey Callaway if he has control of his team, of his locker room, if he's allowed to make in-game moves, because clearly it seems like Brody Van Wagenen, the GM, and the organization is handing him a lineup card every day and handcuffing him and saying, this is what you have to do. You're a pawn. You're not a manager who makes $5-6 million anymore. You're a guy who's making barely $1 million, if that. I think he's making $800,000 a year. That's not money to laugh at, but for a manager, that's nothing. So you're handcuffed by your organization. Be the Wilpons, be Brodie Van Wagenen, whoever it is that's saying, this is what you must do. Here's your lineup and do it this way. And then you get asked a couple tough questions and you don't want to answer them to reporters after you actually made a mistake. If you're the one who's making in-game decisions, as you claim, bring Edwin Diaz in the game. I know he hasn't been great, but bring Edwin Diaz in the game late in the game in the 8th inning when you have a lead and you're trying to secure a lead and win a series against the very good Chicago Cubs. Don't leave in a struggling Seth Lugo, who, after the game, and this is all back to Sunday, Seth Lugo said, I didn't have my stuff today. Then 5 minutes later, Mickey Callaway is going, I thought he looked good today. Well, first of all, you're lying through your teeth, and second of all, this is not hindsight. The Mets broadcast itself was talking about how they should have taken Lugo out of the game and put Diaz in. You can't make these kind of mistakes when you're trying to actually gain momentum. You're trying to get back into a division that's, all right, they're not getting back into the division, but you can slide into the second wild card. At that moment, Sunday, they were only 3 games out of the second wild card. So you got to treat all these games as if you must win them. So not bringing in Diaz, having Lugo serve up a home run and blow the lead, is basically inexcusable to begin with. But then to not want to answer the questions, I mean, get over yourself. So you're snapping at a reporter? All right, fine. Get past all that nonsense. Move on to Monday. Here come the press conferences. These are not difficult. You get coached by the organization to what to say exactly, word for word. You could take the script and you could memorize it and then regurgitate it to the press. Brodie Van Wagenen apparently didn't have him do this. Mickey Callaway went out there, had his first presser, and showed no remorse. Didn't apologize. Basically said, well, Billy Martin knocked a reporter out, years and years and years ago, so at least I didn't do that. I'm just a fiery, competitive guy. Again, I said this before, but what are you, a moron? This is not that difficult, right? This is not a time to stand up and put your foot down and stand up on your moral ground. The guy got under your skin. The beat reporter got under your skin. Get over it. You can't snap at a reporter and have one of your pitchers trying to fight him. You answer the questions, be politically correct, say nothing. Answer the question by saying nothing. Take a page out of the Derek Jeter playbook, the Aaron Judge playbook, the Mike Trout playbook, the guys who answer all the questions, stand up there, take the heat if they ever have to, but say nothing while still answering all the questions. And then you come out and you don't apologize? This is such a joke that Mickey Callaway had to come out and have a second press conference just to say the words, I apologize to Tim Healy. Oh, you did you? Well, how do you feel about it? Obviously, you don't feel too good about having to apologize because it took you 2 visits with the media and 2 press conferences just to come up with an apology that wasn't really all that sincere. So the Mets are an absolute disaster. Their bullpen's a disaster. Go out and make a move. Go do something. Go talk to Cody Allen. Guy has been very bad this year, but he has a track record of being a closer and being a good reliever. It can't hurt. You're bringing in guys like Brooke Pounders. This guy is terrible. And the same day that the Yankees trade for Edwin Encarnacion, you guys trade for Brooke Pounders? Guy's a disaster. Guy's got a career ERA of like 9. Please. With Major League Baseball having 2 wild cards in each league, National League and American League, you are not out of it. As much of a disaster as this is, you're not out of it. Now, with all that being said, they're not a very good team. And I don't think they're going to make any moves. So, when it comes time and you approach the trade deadline, New York Mets, if you somehow get this message, you are sellers at the trade deadline. Now, again, the problem with that is you don't have much to sell. You're going to get not much more than a bag of donuts for some of the players that you have. Last thing I'll say, and I'll end on this, Mike Puma, good writer, very good writer. He also covers the Mets. Said that he thinks that Mickey Callaway is trying to get himself fired. I don't think that's true. He's entitled to his opinion. He's there. He's covering the team. He knows a whole lot more than I do, and he's very good at his job. All I could think of is George Costanza from Seinfeld. Bodysuit man, taking out the World Series trophy and dragging it behind his car in the Yankees parking lot because he was trying to get the head scout job for the Mets. Like, that's all I could picture. And that's what Mickey Callaway should do. If you really want to get fired, pull a bodysuit man, drag the couple World Series trophies that you have. You got to dig them out from the 80s and the 60s to get them if you're a Mets organization, but that would be pretty funny. Like I said, we're talking all things sports here on the Dave Talk Sports podcast. I am your host, Dave Ettinger. You're going to see me daily on my commute home. I hope you don't mind the view with the seatbelt and the steering wheel. And don't worry, I'm being safe. So, until tomorrow, enjoy the sports world. Hope you enjoyed your time here on the Dave Talk Sports podcast. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. See you.